Hello everyone, my name's James and welcome to Cove Podcast Episode 4. So we're going to be doing a FNAF 2 movie review. This is a no spoiler review. I'll be doing a proper spoiler review after this, probably immediately after I'm done with this episode. But starting off, what did I think of the film? It was peak. You know, it had its hiccups, I will admit that, you know. Some of the writing was a bit awkward in some areas, but I think it was a huge improvement, mostly. And the action, the scares... I saw a couple of reviews before I went to this film, but on Rotten Tomatoes, and they were very condescending and stuff. And also they said it was horrible. This wasn't horrible at all, this was great. I enjoyed the film, I loved it, you know? Alright, on to more specific stuff. Man, this is really difficult to talk about without getting into spoilers, so let's talk about the things we already knew about. So, the toy animatronics talking. When I first heard that, I was very hesitant, because I really thought it'd be cringe and just pull me out of it, but it really fit into the movie, you know? And I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but like sometimes they'll switch up between using the Faz talker and the actual voices to like disorientate some of the characters, you know? So speaking of, right, going back over the toy animatronics, Toy Chica was a big standout. Another thing about Toy Chica, she only took off her beak once in a joke, and that was really sad because beakless Toy Chica, if you played the games, you would know that that is Toy Chica's only appearance in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, most of Five Nights at Freddy's AR. I don't know if she makes any major appearances in anything else, but you will know that once she's off the stage, Chica loses her beak, and instead she has these pitch black eyes with with little white dots in the back of them, as well as a big sharp metal teeth behind the hole where her beak would go. This was only played for a joke in the film, and it kills me, you know? That was one of the most disappointing parts of the film, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Which is a shame, because there is, or maybe a little, not fully spoilery, but a little spoilery, there's a part where Toy Chica gets damaged, and that would have been the perfect moment for her to go beakless. It would have been absolutely perfect. Onto the other toy animatronics, I really liked MatPat's Toy Bonnie voice. I'll be honest with you, you couldn't tell it was MatPat, but it's much nicer than the AR one. You know, Toy Bonnie's voice in AR was a very chipmunky and kind of grating to hear, but this one sounded friendly. This one sounded friend-shaped. A friend-shaped voice, you know? Then there's Toy Freddy's. Man, I did not expect the voice that came out of him. It's far deeper, it's a far more like AR Freddy, classic Freddy, than it is Toy Freddy, but I think it fits him, you know? Toy Freddy's regular voice was very goofy, was very jokey, because that was the kind of style of Ultimate Custom Nights. But this one fits Toy Freddy, and fits the more serious tone they were going for this film, and I really liked it. I really liked Toy Freddy in general. He didn't actually do much throughout the film, but I just kind of like Toy Freddy. He's just got a vibe to him. I'd never say he's one of my favorites, but I like him. Right, onto the Wizards. With so much sadness, I have to say that the classics just being worn down Wizards has been proven false. There are different designs. I'm devastated. But the direction they went with them is quite interesting, you know? It was very similar to how the toy animatronics were handled, which if you've seen some of the trailers and some of the teasers, the marionette is controlling them. And that ends up being the same for the Wizards, who, you know, attack Mike, and that's also how they justify the whole being tricked by the mask thing, you know? Because in FNAF 2, the withered animatronics being tricked by the mask despite being possessed really didn't make much sense. Well, it does make sense, because we consistently see that programming overpowers soul power, I guess you'd call it. But that'd be very hard to explain in a movie, so I understand why they went with this. Other animatronics, I love what they did with Balloon Boy. He had a very small role, but They really amped up his annoyingness. Not to the viewer, you know. As of sitting down in the cinema, I didn't find Balloon Boy annoying, but the characters in the film found him annoying in a realistic way that didn't feel like, you know, they were just pointing to the camera saying, "Look, this guy's annoying," because the fans think he's annoying, you know. So I really like how he did with that. What other animatronics are in there? I'll save that for the spoiler review. The marionettes. They were a major part of the story. They're constantly talked about there. Charlie is a very constant factor, but the actual puppet that they use doesn't actually appear that much. It still shows up a lot, you know, but it's very obscured, and the sort of alternate forms of it sort of show up more frequently. Speaking of which, you know those plastic puppet things that were on the water ride? Those actually get a kill. That sounds okay. I know that's a little spoilery, but like, it's just very interesting, you know, and it happens very, very close to the start of the film. Well, it's a little into the film, you know, it's not halfway. So, speaking of the halfway mark of the film, you would never guess it was the halfway mark of the film. This is also a little spoilery, but if you're expecting a grand finale, you will get that, but you will not know it's the grand finale, because this film ends on a cliffhanger. And I would say it's similar to how Across the Spider-Verse has a cliffhanger. Except the thing with Across the Spider-Verse is that cliffhanger has build-up, you know? Not narratively, but music-wise and like framing and all that, it sort of builds up to, right, this is where the story ends, we'll pick up next time. This movie just abruptly ends. And that's both really funny and really sad. This film did not feel like it's the middle point between Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 3. This movie felt like the first half of 3, you know? And of course the movie was about an hour and 40 minutes, I believe. But like, I remember when the first FNAF movie was coming out information-wise, and there was a leak that said it was 3 hours long. I wouldn't mind if Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was 3 hours long if we got more stuff, because oh my god, it was such a cheese. And I think that's the best thing out of this film, that I've gone into it, I've loved what I got. I like I'm very happy with the amount that we got in it, but I wish there was more. What other things can I talk about? Oh, I missed an animatronic. Mangle, right. As we saw from the trailers, they're on top of a car, and that sequence was a lot longer than I thought, you know? I wish we could see Mangle more, but I understand why they couldn't do it. You know, I assume some of it was CGI, because you'd have no opportunity to use a puppet for that. You don't see Mangle a lot, actually. You barely see them. You know, if there's one of the few things that I'd really want from this film was a full view of Mangle standing on the ceiling. We get hints of that when they attack someone in the Freddy's, but besides that, there isn't really much of anything. What else can I talk about without spoiling things? I love how they did Vanessa's dream sequence. You know, I was teased in the film. People were speculating, myself included, that there was going to be like loads of dream sequences with Vanessa, like how it was with Mike in the first film, but it really wasn't. It was, you know, a very small amount. I think it was one dream sequence. Yeah, it was only one dream sequence, but they really packed in a lot to it. What the first FNAF film did within like 6 or 7 dream sequences, the second FNAF film did in one. And, you know, round of applause. Speaking of that dream sequence, if you've seen it, holy peak, I am so excited for the third film, or fourth, if that's what it takes. I desperately want this movie to succeed, because that was awesome. Right, anything else that I can think of? Jeremiah made a few appearances. He was cool. He was more comic relief, though, than anything. There's a certain cameo that I think a lot of people are going to like. What else can I talk about? I'm going to talk about what's not in the film that was somewhat teased in the first. So, Shadow Freddy did make an appearance. None of the vandals made an appearance. None of the Springlock suits from the first film made an appearance. Albeit we do see some Springlocks in this film. But they're not on a Springlock animatronic, if you get what I mean. It's a bit weird. We don't get a flashback to the missing children's incident, like some people were speculating, which is a bit sad. What else? Something at the very start of the film. William is... We get a flashback, though, to some murder. We don't know which one it is. But William is trying to kill someone, and we don't know why. Like, this is I think this is before Garrett. And William's just killing who we can assume is some random boy. Now, some people were speculating it was going to be Sammy when the trailers were coming out, but it's never put focus on, you know? Which is a bit strange. And I really would love to hear the methods to murder that William has. Because he seems to pick his victims both at random, but without purpose. Yet he also seemingly had a purpose in mind for this small child. And, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, this relates to something else we see in the film, so I'll have to think about that later on, you know? But, I think this is mostly all I can say. Besides that, there's a lot of references in the film. I loved a certain one in particular in The Office. And if you came out of the first film thinking that was shit, you didn't have a lot of context, but also the first one was very mediocre, and I'm not surprised you felt that way, you know. But give the second movie a chance. You might still think it's a bit rough around the edges, but if there is one sentence that I would use to describe this film, it is, I am cringe, but I am free. And I guess that's the end of my review. I'll see you at the full spoiler review, which will be coming out very soon. My name's Min James. This has been the Pirates Cove podcast. Have a good night.